I'm so excited to dive in with you guys today. I have a lot to say. Surprise. So I'm going to try to kind of get started, get right into it because, I have a lot to say and we don't want this to take forever. So what I'm going to do is start by breaking down what I did, but then I'm going to kind of go backward and tell you how I got there, because I think that is a really, Buenos Aires, amazing. You're so fun. Is it beautiful there? Then I'm going to go back and kind of tell you how I got there. I think that so often we kind of hear like the shiny result and don't get the full story of how it happened. So expect that. First I'm going to tell you the specifics of what I did, but again, then we're going to go back because I want you to understand that this has been a process. And so I never want to give the illusion that like, it just happened like that. It was just great and fine. It was great, but it definitely has been a process. So we're going to talk all about what that process was for adding that 100K this year without adding extra work, and kind of like where it started, where it came from. It's summer. They're beautiful. Hey, Angela, you guys are here. Say hi. All right, so let's dive in. So here's how I added the 100K this year. Basically, what I do is starting in January of 2018, I started by charging a base rate in addition to 10% of all new revenue generated in my 6-month one-on-one program. So basically, how I increased my revenue was I help my clients increase their revenue. So I am obsessed with the Zig Ziglar quote, which is, you can get anything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And I really feel like that is exactly what happened to me this year. Is like, I really help my clients get results, increase their revenue. Hey, Natalia, thank you for joining me. So I really help my clients get big results, increase their revenue, and so my revenue increased. But here's what I want to say about that. Basically, if you look at the context, 10% of their revenue generated means that they generated $1 million in income. However, most of my clients re-sign with me. So that means they worked with me for 6 months, and the vast majority sign up for another 6 months. But what I do when that happens is I grandfather them in. So like, if whatever the price they initially paid was, that continues, if that makes sense. So it's like, when that started in January of 2018, it did not start for the majority of my clients because the majority of them were grandfathered in at the old price. So basically, just this year, considering all of the people that we have continuing, and I still have people that are not, I still have a ton of clients, not a ton, probably at least half my clients that are not paying me the 10% because they started working with me before this. So I don't know if I'm making any sense, but the gist of it is that 10% equals $1 million that I help my clients create. But over half of my clients were not on that plan. So if I estimate that, I think that we're well into the 2.25 million mark that my clients have generated. And I think that is just amazing. And what is so exciting about that to me is that is also how I increase my revenue. So I added 100K to my business because my clients made millions of dollars. Like, that is the most exciting thing in the world to me. And that's how I did it without adding extra work too, is because it was based on this percentage model, and it was based on them getting more results, and then they pay me a percentage of the new revenue they generate in our work together. So I'm going to go back and explain how we got there and all of that. But for me, this just could not be more exciting to see my income increase so significantly by helping my clients increase their income. Because two things are really important here. And like, if you take one thing, do you like how I always do this? I'm like, if you take one thing away from this live stream, it's in like the first 5 minutes and everyone's like, peace. No, I'm kidding. Don't leave. I have plenty more. But if you really take two things away here, it's this. It took being willing to do it totally different. I do not know any other coach or mentor who does it this way. I have never had a mentor do it this way. This was purely based on the fact that I knew the kind of business I wanted. And I knew that I wanted to have a one-on-one focused business. And I knew that I had to figure out creative, inventive ways to scale that served me and that served my clients. And so I also had to be willing to do it completely differently. This is not a live stream to advocate that you take on the 10% model. Truthfully, I know nobody else that's doing that, and it might just not be a thing for anybody else, right? This is a live stream to advocate that you figure out the type of business you want to build and then you go fucking build it instead of trying to do it other people's ways. So that's number one. Number two is that this took an incredible amount of patience. So I have been testing this model for a long ass time. And it finally, well, it served me a lot along the way, and I'm going to talk about that. But this year is the year when it clicked and it finally resulted in this, 6-figure jump without adding any extra work at all. And it was so fucking worth it. And also it wasn't overnight. And I think that that's something that happens in this space a lot, is that we're expecting very fast results, or we don't think something's working. And I actually have a little timeline laid out, and I'm going to show you how a lot of this process didn't actually work at the beginning. But I stayed committed to testing and tweaking it until it did. And that's why this year looks like $100K extra in my bank account without any extra work. And also, when you consider that only half my clients were that, it's going to look like, maybe $200K extra next year. It's going to look like potentially even more than that, right? And so it is this like super scalable model for me, but it has really, really taken time. And it also is going to take patience. Like, it did not add $1 million to my business this year. That is going to happen eventually, but it's a long-term game that I'm playing. And I'm so willing to play it because I'm getting to build a business I love, and I'm getting to serve in the way I want to serve and do things that excite me and light me up. And so that's sort of my call to action to you today, is to figure out how to build a business that you love, because that's when you add money. That's when you scale. That's when you serve in a different way. It does not have to be this model. I'm definitely not an advocate for this. I mean, truthfully, again, none of my clients are doing this. I don't know anybody else who structures their business on revenue share. So this is not like a live stream on like, here are my 5 steps to revenue sharing and why you should do it. It's not that. It's like, here is how I have found out that you can add big money to your business if you get really intentional about what suits you, what serves you, and the type of business you want to scale. Rita says, Chuck says he's going to start charging me 10% of my income. Well, Rita, I'm pretty sure he actually gets all of your income since he's your husband. But I like the way he thinks. I think that's smart man. I love it. He's so funny. I feel like he's like our comic relief. We need more happy thoughts comments from Chuck as well. Okay, so let me pull up what I want to say here. So here's the backstory. I really, really want to give you this because, again, like, I want to illustrate like how this all came together, and I want to show you that there were a lot of bumps in the road and give you permission to have those and still stay committed to your vision. So basically, I started this idea by running a partnership contest in 2016, in May of 2016, where I took 15% of all new revenue with no base rate. And what I had was like a 3-step process that people had to go through. So at that time, I was really in a place where I was thinking to myself, like, gosh, there's so many people in this industry who want help and support. And there's so many people who feel like they can't afford that. And like, I wish there were lower entry barriers to getting support. Now, here's what I want to say about that. And this is why that's important. 2 things. I can't help it. 2 things. One is lowering entry barriers has always been a thing for me. So when I worked in the nonprofit space, like, my entire job was basically dedicated to re-engineering our service delivery model. So we had lower entry barriers for families that needed our service. So this was just something that has like been on my heart. and was something important to me. And I noticed something like similar happening in the coaching industry, and I was interested in exploring it. The second thing is I knew it was going to take innovation because it was not something that was already happening. And I tell my clients this all the time, like, if you can fill that hole, like if you are like annoyed at something and then you can be the solution to it, it's so easy to grow in that way. Something I really love as a recommendation is the blue ocean strategy. I'm obsessed with it. I feel like in many ways it contributed to me coming up with this idea, but I was really thinking through a lot of the core questions in there. And basically what happened was I was taking a bath, you know, when we kind of like let our minds quiet, and I wasn't thinking about it at all. And I literally felt like this idea was just like popped into my head. I'm sure we've all had that moment. And I was just like, oh, I'm just going to do a percentage model, right? And here's the thing. I was totally inspired, totally divine, all things. But I think that sometimes the mistake that we make as entrepreneurs when that idea comes down is that we try to go 0 to 60. So like there would have been a temptation for me to be like, oh my God, I feel like this idea just got beamed down. It's exactly what I'm asking for. I'm changing my whole fucking business model. Everybody's just paying me 15%. Let's roll. Nah. Like I needed to have consistent income still then, you know, so no. And I think that that's a really important thing here is like you can explore your innovative ideas and you can get excited about them and you can take pretty immediate action on them without it meaning that you have to do something that hurts your current revenue, that hurts your business model, that puts you in a place of fear, right? And I think that that's another thing that I want to remind this live stream is that when you get those like shot to the brain ideas that just feel so divine, like they can be totally amazing and divine without you having to take like this like huge like burn shit down action related to it. And I see so many entrepreneurs that want to do that. They have the idea and then it's just like boom. And then they're like so fucking frustrated because they, you know, burned everything down and now they're starting with this. And it also is what makes them think the idea doesn't work. If back in 2016, I had changed my entire business model and gone to just everyone paying me 15% revenue, I guarantee you I would not still be in business. Hands down, guarantee it. Because it would not have been sustainable. I was not ready and I was not in a place where foundationally that made sense. So that is a big takeaway here. You can still run with your idea, which I totally did. I mean, probably within 48 hours of having the idea, I had a landing page up. I was doing this whole contest, but I didn't take it broad scale. I was like committed to testing and tweaking it. Does that make sense? Does anybody have a similar experience or a question about that? This idea of like, the big idea comes and we feel like we have to take the biggest action. And sometimes like the big idea can come and then it looks like small, consistent actions toward that, right? Right, I had a 3-step process. I did it in May of 2016. At that time, we had 73 people apply. I ran it again in January of 2017 and we had 150 people apply. So I was like, this is amazing. The need is so huge. Like, this is great. I was also getting clients afterwards because people went through that process and they were like, oh my God, this process in and of itself changed my business. Like, I don't even care if I got the partnership space, I like have to work with you. So it really felt like it was ticking along then. And at the time, I was definitely considering like, do I need to change my whole business model around this? And it just did not make sense at that time either. Like the unpredictability of that did not feel like something that I was ready to lean into because it immediately brought up so much fear and like not in the good way, but in the like, if I do this, I'm just going to be like so in fear. But I knew it was working. I saw the numbers increasing and I was like, this is something and I have to keep running with it. So that happened. Then we ran it again in August of 2018. We only had 100 people apply. So we went down by like 50 people. which felt really significant at the time, right? Rita says that was me. I had the partnership and then I re-upped. Beautiful. Yes, I love you. And yeah, and people that were just participating end up signing up too. So it's like this really good lead generator. But then all of a sudden we like had this significant drop, and I was just like, man, like maybe people are just not wanting this, or maybe they're not getting it, or maybe I'm not explaining it right, or just all the stuff that we go through in our heads, right? But I, really checked back in with myself and just still felt so committed to this idea. And I felt so certain that like there was something bigger here, and that this innovation was like going to work, if that makes sense. And I think that's so important too, is that a lot of times we'll sell a course and it'll do well, and then we'll sell it again, it won't do well, and then we want to like burn that shit down. And this is such an example of like, you may have a bump in the road. Like there may be a spot where like the way you used to explain it is not resonating anymore. And I'm not trying to turn my nose up at 100 people. That's still incredible, and I'm so grateful for that. But it really was like this, I mean, we lost like a quarter of our participants, or like our normal applicants at that point. And so that was a big deal, where I really had to decide, like, are we going to move forward? And I also at that time had literally just gotten divorced and was going through like huge personal transformation in my own life. And so I think that's something to be said too, is that often we're really in creation of our own experience. Like I think at the time I really was like not in a place where I wanted to handle this huge influx, but I kind of wanted the influx, but then I kind of wasn't really ready for it. And I think that like in many ways the universe actually delivered exactly what I needed at that time. Because I had gotten divorced like very end of May of 2017. And so August was still like really fresh, you know what I mean? And I was renovating my house, all this stuff. So that's another lesson that I would say take from this too, is that sometimes like we are given exactly what we can handle, and it's actually in our best interest. And if we can take that perspective, it helps us to stay committed to the path and the process, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, this means something. The fact that like not only did as many people not apply, but actually a quarter less means something. And what I really took from that is like, it means I wasn't in the place to hold space for that. And actually that was like such a gift. And it wasn't even anything to do with like my messaging or that it wasn't resonating, although that was like a possibility that was on the table that we explored. Like I really believe that it was like, that was what I was like prepared to hold. And that's something I would like, really impart upon you. Like when you're having something like that happen in your business, look at all the practicals and particulars, but also pay attention to like, what are you energetically bringing to the table, and what are you available to hold space for? Because a lot of times it has nothing to do with the idea, and it has everything to do with where we're at. So that was a really important reflection for me, that like, the idea is still great. The timing was maybe not the best for me. And so that was something that I really took to heart then. And so with that being said, I actually did not launch the partnership again until April of 2018. So I took a pretty big break there, because I really needed to get myself back to a place where I was like so energetically ready for this. And I had a really busy December. Last year, we ended up adding the 10% in January 2018. So it was sort of just giving myself that space where it was like, I don't have to go right back into this, right? Kathy says, yes, the universe will give us what we need versus what we want. Absolutely. So we ran it again in April of 2018 and had 169 people apply. So a few things happened. The downturn of applications. Another thing we did was we ended up moving up in April of 2018 to 20% instead of 15%. And then in the beginning of 2018, I moved to a base rate plus 10% of revenue for all clients. So that was a very long process. And the reason I say that is to illustrate this was a long process that helped me learn a ton along the way. And that wasn't without its own challenges or places where it would have been easy to tap out or do something different. Also, it was really, really a long-term game, in the sense that knowing most of my clients would be grandfathered in, and adding that 10%, I knew that I was playing a really long-term game with that. Like, this wasn't something that was going to give me like a 100K launch next week. And I think that another thing I want to impart upon you with this is that play the long-term game in your business. Honestly, every time it's going to serve you more. Anytime we're playing that short-term game, like where we just want that like fast cash infusion. And listen, there's nothing wrong with like getting a cash infusion in your business. Like, there are some, strategic ways to do that. But when we're constantly making decisions from that place, we're never going to be building sustainability. So I am so grateful that I made the decision I did then to play the long-term game and see this happen, because now I'm at a place where I can literally say I added 6 figures without working more. But again, it wasn't overnight. And so that's something I really want to tell you, is that if you stay committed to the long-term game, that's when results like adding 6 figures without working anymore can happen, right? And patience, like I just think patience is so undervalued in this space. We're expecting everything so fast. And I think you absolutely can get results really fast. I made 20K my second month in business. I was at I was at 6 figures in 10 months, and I was at multi 6 figures in 16, I believe. But patience is also such a virtue in letting this play out. Like, from when I added it in January 2018 to December, or to the end of November, we added 100K. So by the time December plays out, like obviously it'll be more than that, but the point is, again, it can take a long time. And also, to add 100K without working extra over 11 months doesn't really suck, but like, you have to go into it knowing that. And I think that's where a lot of people shoot themselves into the foot as they have this new idea, and then they're like expecting to see the full thing play out in like weeks or a couple of months, and then they pull back like, oh, you know what, I'm like never gonna get there because the client's not making what I want them to make, or because I have all these grandfathered in clients and it's just not worth it, or whatever. We do that to ourselves with other things, like, oh, this course didn't get the results that I want, so I'm going to make a new one, versus like, let me test this and tweak this and stay in it and get better and better results each time. So that's just something I really, really want to share with you about this process and take away, is that patience is such a virtue in this online space, and that in a space where everyone's telling you how to get the fastest results ever, sometimes you can get fast results, but ultimately sometimes the best results come from a tremendous amount of patience and commitment and dedication. Rita says, there was a program that I created that I was excited about and then wanted to burn it down, and then still felt like I wanted to burn it down not long ago. But thanks to your awesome friendship and advice, I kept consistent with it. And on Cyber Monday, I just sold it as a passive income course at the same rate my live course was, meaning the next live round is going to be higher. And I know that means the next live round will be different than I thought, but I'm committed to tweaking it and getting it where I know it will be. Exactly. I think this is such a great example. Is like, we do something and then it's like, okay, forget this thing. Where's the next thing? Versus like, cool, what else can I do with this thing? Can I make it passive? Can I add even more to it? Can I raise the price? Can I test it? Can I tweak it? Can I get better? Can I get better? Can I get better? And Rita, to your credit, like that's exactly what you're doing. And that's why your course is only getting better and you're only getting more enrollments, and that's only going to continue. I think that sometimes we look at people from the outside looking in, like I think about like people like Denise Duffield Thomas with Lucky Bitch Bootcamp, or Marie Forleo with B School. Like, the numbers they're getting now are because they've been launching the same thing for like, 10 years and testing and tweaking it and getting better every time. And I think that so often we forget that. We're like trying to get, Marie Forleo and DDT numbers on the first course launch. We're frustrated that we didn't get them. And we're trying to build the next thing, or whatever it is, course or otherwise. That's just an example. And so the value of really testing and tweaking something, staying committed to it, even through the bumps, continuing to check in with yourself on what feels good, is just cannot be underscored enough. And like, the thing that I love about what I've created is I know that it's scalable, and I know that will continue to add to my income without me continuing to add work. Like, I'm just going to take a minute to pat myself on the back, because I'm so fucking proud of this model, because I feel like everyone says like one-on-one isn't scalable. And I feel like I'm like, no, like this is scalability with one-on-one. Like I'm going to continue to do the same amount of work and my income is only going to increase. Like, but again, like we're talking 2016, we're at the end of, or mid 2016, May, we're in December of 2018, where I finally saw this come to fruition and I can see how this is only going to increase without extra work. But we're talking 2.5 years of testing and tweaking and effort and patience, right? And so this live stream isn't to say it has to take you 2.5 years, but it is to say that if you stay committed to the thing that you want most, i.e. what I wanted most was scale my one-on-one and not have to go this route of doing other things that I didn't feel like doing. It's crazy what the universe will deliver and how those ideas will come to you and how they'll come to fruition. If you keep jumping off the path, you will constantly feel frustrated and you will constantly be chasing that next shiny object. And that's what a lot of people do in this space and spend a lot of money doing it and feeling really frustrated. So what else do I want to say? I think the other thing that I really just want to like keep as like a top level thing here is this idea that like I am so proud of this model, but it does not have to be your model. Like the thing I hate the most is when someone builds something and then they spend all of their time telling other people that they should build the same thing. Right? So like someone's like, here's my 5-step process to scaling your one-on-one and it has to look like this and these are the exact steps and this is exactly how you say it and this is exactly how you do it. For me, that's like franchising a business. Like I'm not trying to build another Panera. I'm trying to build my own unique business. And all of the people I look up to have done that. They have figured out their own way and then they maybe sell their way. But the point is like, how do I want to say this? Like, so the, the people that you look up to that have like made their own way and are now selling a process based on that, it's so ironic because they're selling a process based on that, but the way they actually got there was creating their own path. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're selling you their path, but the reason it actually worked was because they created their own path. Like you hear so few people saying, oh, the reason I'm a multimillionaire, well, it's because I followed so-and-so's exact path. No, they're like, the reason I'm a multimillionaire is because I did whatever the fuck I wanted and I stayed committed. You know, and I did the mindset work and I, whatever, you know what I mean? So that's something I really want to share here is that I never want to be that person that's like, okay, here's my path and now you have to repeat it. What I really want to be about is like, here's my path, take it or leave it. But the bigger point is that I stayed relentlessly committed to my own path, even when there wasn't a clear path in front of me, even when, you know, we had a big downturn, even when I wasn't like in the right energetic space for it, et cetera, et cetera. So does that make sense, you guys? I hope that's helpful. And I hope that solidifies that piece for you that you'll get permission to do it your way and permission to figure out your thing. I had plenty of people along the way kind of suggest to me that I was really holding myself back by not, you know, going the course route. Or I had a mentor say to me kind of like, you know, it makes me sad because I just see that like you could be at 7 figures and you're not stepping into that. And I was like, but like I am stepping into it. I'm just wanting to do it in my own way. Like your version of me stepping into it is to create and sell a signature course. Like there's a big difference between like I'm not stepping into it and like I'm stepping on my own path, right? And so that's just something that I think is like hopefully a huge takeaway for you, is that your way to your first 6 figures, your next 6 figures, your next income stream or whatever is to go, what is my burning desire? What's my path? What am I most excited about? And for me, I knew what I was most excited about was one-on-one. And I fucking hated that story in our industry, which was, you can't scale one-on-one, you can't scale one-on-one, you can't scale one-on-one. I was like, no, I'm not available to listen to that. So whatever stories you're hearing, whatever your deepest truth is, it's time to look at that. Do I promise that it will happen in the next 30 days? No. But truthfully, adding 100K of revenue to your business over 11 months ain't too shabby either, right? Especially without adding extra work. And so that's just really, really something that I hope you guys take away from this, is that you just have so much permission to do it your own way. And like, again, 100K of revenue, 11 months, 8 too shabby either, right? So that's just really, really something that I hope you guys take away from this, is that you just have so much permission to do it your own way. And like, again, 100K of revenue, 11 months, 8 too shabby either, right? So that's just really, really something that I hope you guys take away from this, is that you just have so much permission to do it your own way. And like, again, it's going to take a little time and it's going to take a little patience, especially when you're doing it your own way and you're not trying to like, copy and paste someone else's, but that's also where it's fun and enjoyable. Like the amount of like joy and excitement and fulfillment and happiness that I feel over the fact that I did it my own way and got this result is like really, really hard to conceptualize. Like it's hard to even put into words how, like what a beautifully empowering feeling that is. To just feel like I am in total control of the results I want and I get to do it my way and I get to figure out my own path and I get to have what I want. Like, right? Like I get to do it my way. I get to have what I want. I get to do it my way. I get to have what I want. So many of us leave corporate because we were sick of doing it other people's ways and not getting what we wanted. And then we come to entrepreneurship and we try to do it other people's ways and not get what we wanted. Right? And so the trade-off for me is so worth it. And I also think it's where the biggest results come from. Like I truly think that if I had tried to do it other people's way and, tried to like get to the 7-figure mark by selling a signature course or something, I think that something would have happened along the way. Like whether it didn't sell or I burnt out or whatever, like it would just have not been in alignment. And I don't think I could have made it happen without like, killing myself to make it happen because it was so out of alignment for me. This has been so easeful because it is so in alignment for me and because it feels so good to me. When I say easeful, I don't mean that there wasn't challenges or that it didn't take time. I just mean it did not feel like pushing a rock up a hill. It felt life-giving and exciting. Like so these partnership clients that started back in like May of 2016, a lot of them at the time were paying me more than my regular rate. Like it was working and it was happening. And there was this way in which I felt like, oh my gosh, yes. But there was also this way where like it took time to fully come to fruition, right? Like, and when they were paying me more than my rate, it would have been tempting to be like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to like fully jump in the ocean because over here I'm making some more cash than I am in this other way. And that still wouldn't have been in alignment. Like I really had to work up to it. But this idea, this quote that I shared earlier, this Zig Ziglar quote that you can get anything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want, was such a driving factor for me. And I'm just so glad that I like stuck to that and wasn't derailed or pulled out of alignment by not, staying committed to that. So Lena says alignment is key. Exactly. So that's my other big takeaway. Do it your way, have patience, and like find your alignment. And truthfully, I'm going to be honest, I sort of fucking hate that word because I think it gets thrown around in this space a lot. And I think it's a really easy word to plop in space of I'm scared. Like it's not in alignment, i.e. I don't fucking want to or I'm scared. But true alignment, like when you really are on path with your path, is that feeling of like, it's scary, but I desire it anyway. It's hard, but I know this is right. And that's how I felt in this process. Like it's hard to stay committed to the same idea for 2.5 years, but I knew it was right. It's hard to keep hearing over and over again that you can't scale one-on-one, but I knew I could. Like even when it was hard, even when it wasn't easy, for me, that's alignment. And so I hope that I am not throwing that word around in an irresponsible way and that it makes sense what I mean by that. So that was pretty much it. Like the reason I made money is because I help my clients make money. The reason I added 100K without doing extra work is because we added that 10% revenue share. And, obviously I had the grandfathered in clients, but this is how I see it scaling is like, so I think I said that my estimate's like 2.25 million of what my clients have created this year, just my one-on-one. This isn't mastermind or anything else. And so next year, I know that's going to be higher. I know we're going to be at 200K plus, 300K plus of added income just from that without extra work. It's like so good. But again, the point isn't do the 10%. That's probably not truly right for a lot of people. I think I'm have been unique in being able to have that level of belief in making it work. But you knowing your desire and you following that path is the whole thing. And then being able to sit there and go, oh my gosh, I created all this is just so empowering. And so I hope that I can help you do that. So here's the thing. I have been like so jazzed up on this idea of like creating your own path and like seeing it come to fruition is so empowering. Like I just like cried so many happy tears about this lately and just felt so like, this is my work in the world, right? So I'm doing a thing, which is called Your Six-Figure Success Plan, because I truly want to help you apply this process. What I don't want to do is give you my 5 steps to doing this, and so then you can go make a 10% model in your business and blah, blah, blah. What I really want to do is help you find your own plan that's going to help you at 100K or make your first 100K or whatever, because the way to do that is to keep tapping into you. And then also, you know that I am like the biggest believer in the world in mindset, strategy, and execution, which is the process I personally use and walk all my clients through. And I use this in such a big way to create these results. And so I'm also going to share that with you too, how you can apply mindset, strategy, and execution to getting exactly what you want, pretty much anything you want. And then like really, what is your plan for 2019 to also create your first 100K or add a 100K revenue stream? Like I want to dive into that and I want to tap into that because I know that adding my 10% base rate in 2018 was just absolutely life-changing for me in January of 2018. And so I want you to walk into January feeling this conviction and excitement that 100K next year is yours. So I want you to join me. It's alituplife.com/6figures. You can use 6, the number, you can type 6, either works. alituplife.com/6figures. And we are going to dive into your own plan, how you can apply everything that I worked with to your business, not my steps, but my way of showing up and thinking about it and planning for it and making it work for me. That's what I'm going to help you do, is create that personalization. Heather says, do you see yourself turning down clients because they might not be ready for higher income because of profit share model? Because they might not be ready for higher income. You know, Heather, it's hard to say, like in the sense that someone that wasn't ready to create a higher income wouldn't be a good fit for me anyway, because pretty much my entire coaching program is, you know, based on like, I help you make more money, like more impact and more income online. So truthfully, that really hasn't been a problem, simply because if someone came to me and that wasn't a thing for them, they just wouldn't be a fit for me as a coach. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to be ready to go to a higher income, but that just wouldn't be the right fit for the problem I solve. So that truthfully hasn't been a problem with the revenue share model at all. But if you have more questions on that, I'm super happy to answer anything about the revenue share model too. Or, you know, what I did or any of that, feel free to drop them now, or if you're watching the replay. But I would love for you to join me for the 6-figure success plan. I'm so excited about this. And I just like want everyone to have this feeling where they're like, I know how to do it. I'm empowered. I'm doing it my way. I'm in alignment and I'm seeing the results come from it. So let's make sure that you can start 2019 with that level of confidence and excitement. alituplife.com/6figures. I hope you guys have a beautiful Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for letting me talk about this. Thank you for listening to my process. Thank you for being part of this community. I'm just so full of gratitude and excitement right now, and I cannot wait to share more of that with you in the 6-figure success plan series. So thank you guys. I love you. I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye.